I want to, in addition to the incoming crisis of people possibly facing water shutoffs for still contaminated water, people facing eviction threats. I've heard from people by police escort. They've been threatened. I want to address something, and disclosure, I'm not a scientist, but I've talked to a few in my day. So the citizens of Flint have been told that water is safe to drink with a filter. These filters have been issued by the government, the EPA. They're supposed to go in your cold water faucet. I just want to, before I get to the audience, I just want to tell you a few statistics. So the filter may take out lead, even though it's not 100%, but these filters, it concentrates bacteria and promotes growth in bacteria. So the media, whenever they've talked about Flint, which isn't a lot, the headlines are always about lead. But these flimsy filters are food for bacteria. Secondly, there's also an ongoing debate among water experts, scientists, about false comfort with just putting a filter in. Because again, filters actually go bad rather quickly. If you mistakenly use hot water instead of cold water, dunzo, done. And you know, I've learned here, instead of in-person communication, the city, the state are very big on pamphlets. So they send a lot of pamphlets with information of how to change your filter. This and that. I got news for you. I can't even hook up a TV. So if I'm getting pamphlets on filters and all this, that's not exactly comforting. So right off the top, the whole you're safe to drink water with a filter is not a guarantee. Then there's the issue of showering and bathing. I want to, Z, can you bring over this Santa Claus looking man over here? Tony, stand up. Tony, stand up.
You know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, and turn around.
Is this on?
Wait. So this is Tony Palladeno. Tony, come over here.
Let me bring some friends with me.
Sure. So this is Tony Palladeno. He's a resident here. You've been through an ordeal. A certain EPA-funded scientist has told you, Tony, there's no issues with the water anymore. Could you talk about what you and your wife first experienced, and also when you shower now, what are your health issues?
First of all, I want is this on? I want to thank you.
I
want to thank you for being here, because actually, the only thing that's getting filtered in Flint now are our voices. And when you hear the crackle, and when you hear a crackling bottle, that's us screaming, because we've been threatened to be arrested, and it's not right. But let me introduce you to something. This was my first clue in 2014, and they're telling us this is good to drink. It kills me, man. We're blistered up. 14, 15, 16, and 17. That's my hair, my wife's hair, and my dog's little bitty bag, who laid on the ground, couldn't breathe. It was no joke. My dog was dying, and we didn't know it.
And when are all these samples from?
I've stopped. I mean, I got one from 2017 all the way back to 14, because my kid's like, Dad, clean the toilet, or the toilet. We don't touch the toilet. He's like, clean the tub out. Blisters, my eyes are still burning. They're lying to us. Like I said, the only filter is what they're putting on our mouths. So just last night at council meeting, I almost got threatened with being arrested because I spoke up on the way they're treating our housing and developing. We are no third country. This is
just
us.
To be clear, because I want the audience to understand.
I'm sorry,
so
I get carried away.
You're talking about your eyes are burning when you're in the shower.
When I'm in especially the right corner of my eye, this has never happened. I've lost teeth. I got that. I got sores, and it's kind of embarrassing. This is 3 years. I'm not waiting another 3 years, Flint. Something needs to happen. Yeah. And I'm going to say this. I'm always getting called out as a radical guy, and I've got a lot of people. We are radicals. You don't see all of us all the time. Just to touch on this water bill deal. I had a rental that we had redone that had been emptied for 8 months, okay? We got a water bill on it back in 2016 for $120.38. No one was living in that house. Now, I was forced to live with my son in my other house with my wife and my kid, his daughter. There was 5 of us in the house using a washer and dryer. And lo and behold, the bill come back at $120.38. This was a year prior. Flint, they are lying to you when it comes to these bills. There's no way they can tell us what we owe. You know what I'm saying? There's no way. They're not keeping the right track of this. And to kick it off, people are dying. They're lying about the Legionella. They're calling it pneumonia. They don't want to admit the bacteria, the way you breathe. It's a lie. And here's what gets me more than anything. I said this last night at council. There are 9 wards in the city of Flint. I suggest there should be 10, and that's all of us, because no one's making everybody stay on track. We've had 2 fighters, Eric Mays and Wantoise. You understand? We couldn't get them out on the streets. We didn't have Kildee or none of them for the first 8 or 9 months. Am I lying? No. Stabbing on nobody. All of a sudden they got, or the colleges. And VT has come across and said, this is lead and copper. Well, guess what? To hell with that. Because we're breathing and smelling, and I'm not drinking this. I'm going to touch this. I'm getting carried away. But we was at the environmental justice program the other night, and me and my wife blew up. The city administrator said, please don't disrespect. I said, no, we're going to tell you this. As we finished, and I was rampant, believe me, I was, because I'm tired of the lies, and I hope you guys are. Yeah. But I literally said, just like George said, I said, you in the city of Flint, if you believe in that filter, and you will not even drink it, but use it, raise your hand. And guess what? Not one member from the EPA, the MDEQ, raised their hand. Nobody did. Because you know why? These filters are a damn lie. Serious. And guess what? I'm only one. We're all living proof. The truth of the matter is, Flint, we need to get up and get out and get this taken care of. We're done pussyfooting around. I'm not blaming the mayor. I am blaming that governor. The state did this to us. All right? And not only that, they put the likes of Mr. Baird, who gets to creep around in all these back doors and telling us everything's Mr. Richard Baird. Look him up. Look him up. Even Al Capone wasn't that dirty. Amen. All right, thank you. I want to thank you. Deb, thanks for the church.
Give it to
Go to Papa, baby.
If you're in Flint and want to party later, that's the guy.
Fried bologna sandwiches for all.
Yeah. So I think one of the most disturbing parts of the lack of media coverage here is there's ongoing health problems. Like, it's not like people were sick and now they're better. Of course, the cognitive issues are unfortunately relatively permanent for a lot of people. Cancers, things like that also. But there's ongoing issues. I've spoken with people who still have nosebleeds. I've spoken with people who, the eye itching, ear issues. I've spoken with people suddenly, all of a sudden, getting spots on their liver. I've spoken with people who are having intense migraines. And ironically, if they leave Flint for a few days, they feel a little better, or a lot better. But when they come back to Flint, not so much. So, again, and I'll be posting things after this town hall, there are EPA-funded scientists, and I'm talking to you, Mark Edwards. Yeah! So, if you don't know, Mark Edwards, to his credit, was on the ground here first. He found originally the lead issue here in Flint, Michigan. But suddenly, how it happens oftentimes in the scientific industrial complex, he was granted hundreds of thousands of dollars from the EPA, as well as the state, through the Michigan Endowment Fund, which is actually Schneider's. And suddenly, there's not that much, the issue is improving here in Flint. Suddenly, Tony, it's not, the water here is not any different than other cities. Yeah. The lead is decreasing. Well, let me explain to you, because I've done reporting in Indiana, I've done reporting elsewhere with similar lead issues, and I've worked with an independent water expert who's not getting any money from the EPA. And his name is Scott Smith. So, you know, I'm not getting paid from Scott, so this is just a free plug. But so Scott, through Mark Ruffalo, the actor, his nonprofit, it's called Water Defense. He's gone in to people's homes in Flint, and he tests water. Where it enters the home at the meter. The EPA does not. Why you need to do it at the meter is because that's the water that's being distributed from the city. So that's what you're paying for. So the EPA, for the most part, in Indiana, in Flint, elsewhere, is testing the cold water faucet. And they do it in certain cherry-picked ways that they're finding lower than the actionable level of lead. And recent headlines declared lead is under 15 parts per billion, which is the allowable limit of lead. Let me tell you something. I don't have any kids that I know about, but the allowable limit for lead is 0. Because, for example, I have sleep issues, and my immune system's all fudged up. If my camera guy, Ty, who is very healthy, Superman, if he gets 15 parts per billion, he could be okay. But if I get 6 parts per billion, I could be a fucking disaster. Any doctor will tell you, it depends on the person. So Mark Edwards has, and these other funded by the EPA folks have said, under 15 parts per billion, nothing to see here, move on. Well, listen, I'm not a kook, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there are independent scientists going in and finding lead levels much higher than 15 parts per billion, while the EPA testing is saying it's under. They're also finding bacteria. And bacteria, by the way, in recoating the pipes, the lead-infused pipes, when you recoat them with something called orthophosphates, you know what orthophosphates do? They're food for bacteria. So you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. What needs to happen is these pipes need to be changed. As we discussed in the beginning, there is a road to that, but that's 3 years from now. People here, raise your hands. Do you feel comfortable drinking water out of the filter, and do you feel comfortable that the EPA's testing, if you have been tested, is thorough enough? Raise your hand. I got a hell no.